Commission set aside some $30 million to invest into this country.
Right.
And I know that Plan is part of the
Right.
organizations that are actually implementing agencies that are supposed to execute
Right.
these projects. Tell us about the particular one that Plan is on and how you plan to execute the project.
All right. Thank you very much. Truly appreciate JoyNews for the opportunity and for the partnership with international NGOs like Plan International Ghana. We've actually launched 4 projects today, and one of them is actually being implemented by Plan International Ghana. And then we have Alinea, WOSC, and Oxfam Ghana that are going to implement the program. The component of the program that will be implemented by Plan International Ghana will focus on empowering rural women and girls by ensuring that they can get additional financial resources for them to be involved in the production of soya and green skills, which includes rabbit rearing and other agri-related activities.
If you say we'll get financial resources, exactly what does that translate into?
What we are planning is to provide additional income into every household where the women are, in order for them to have financial means for them to be able to stand on their own.
And you're using soya?
Soya is basically one of them, because we are actually focusing in Bono and in northern region. So we will basically be using existing knowledge by the women in this area, and given the fact that they already have access to land, but at the same time, the collaboration with Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection will be very critical. Our intention is, through this funding that Canadian taxpayers have actually provided, we want to make sure that this program can actually be sustainable beyond the lifetime. And that is only possible and feasible if we work very closely with government and existing structures. And that's basically the intention with this program.
When is this supposed to start? And how many women will be impacted?
Right.
And of course, how much has been set aside for just this project?
Okay, I think the component that Plan International Ghana will implement, we're actually planning to reach to 12,641 women. And the reason why the launch was delayed is because of COVID. In the case of Plan International Ghana, we actually started the program a year ago. So as a coincidence, we're actually having our first program review for the first year, while also planning for the next year tomorrow afternoon. So it has already started. But of course, with COVID, there's been a lot of implications in terms of our ability to sit together like this and to have a face-to-face engagement like we had today.
You said it's been a year, so what would you say has been the impact so far, especially for these women? Soya takes how long to grow? Have they started harvesting? Is this within this 1 year already? Are they seeing the fruits of this project?
You know, when you start implementing this size of a program, there is a lot of startup process. So from the time that we were notified that we were one of the successful grantees, we've actually spent time in terms of identifying who our partners would be and who our beneficiaries would be. Because we don't start a program and start it immediately. You know, there is the identification of beneficiary process, then the hiring of staff. We do have a very competent Ghanaian who is actually going to manage this program. So that's basically where we've spent the majority of the time. But where you see significant impact in any grant is actually from the first and second and third year. And that's basically where we are putting significant investment on.
Why was soya being chosen for this project?
It's just, one of them is soya. As you heard from Oxfam, Ghana, they are actually focusing on cocoa and shea butter. Because we want to use the existing crop that the women and the girls are used to grow. In our case, the reason why soya was actually chosen is because it has huge need, especially in the export market outside Ghana. Even though we don't use it much within our context in Ghana, it has huge potential in terms of export and also to generate foreign currency for Ghana. Yeah.
After the 5 years, you say that it will be very important for government to take over this project. What is the expected impact on these women, these 12,000, over 12,000 women, within the space of between 4 to 5 years? What are the expected outcomes?
I think as many of the speakers have proved today, when women have significant income that they generate on their own, it has a huge impact on the family, the children, the wider community. And that's really one of the greatest plans that we have, is that the benefit, whether it's financial or education, or from even medical perspective, or overall well-being, we're really hoping that this would actually benefit not only the 12,000 direct beneficiaries, but many more. So we are really excited to have the opportunity to have a discussion with you and the public in general in terms of how this program has benefited more than the direct beneficiaries, which are actually the 12,000 women within our program. But overall, within the 4 grantees, we're actually looking at more than 30,000 direct beneficiaries, but the indirect beneficiaries will actually be multiplied much more. And as you've also seen today, we've actually invited Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Trade, Minister of Education, because this is also very key ministries that will actually be part of the implementation of our program, because our intention is actually to complement the government's efforts and to support the government in its initiative at national level.
When this project is finally at the end, in terms of the 5 years, if government doesn't really take over, or if you do not get the local support, what happens to these women?
Yeah, our intention with this kind of project is not to make the women dependent on the current funding and support that they are getting from Canadian government through Plan International or the other 3 international NGOs. Our intention is to provide as much support for them to be able to stand on their own beyond the current funding. And that is really the intention and the methodology of our program implementation, is not to make them dependent, but so that they can be independent through the support that they are getting from the current funding. And this is not a short term, it's actually a 5-year period.
Whilst you were speaking, you mentioned the fact that these women will also be getting some level of financial support.
Right.
Apart from that, what else are they getting through this particular project, and which communities will benefit, or which regions?
Okay. With this kind of program, it's not just the financial component which is important. The technical component in terms of technical capacity and transfer of knowledge on the various aspects of agriculture will actually be very critical. So the enhancement of their knowledge will be a very important part and element of the program implementation. And that's why working with Ministry of Agriculture at the local level will be equally very important. And that partnership is highly valued and very critical. So in our case, we will actually be implementing in Northern region, in North, Bono, and I know that the new regions have actually been divided, so we are actually going to focus in 4 regions in the northern part of Ghana.
Thank you very much, Solomon.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on Food Chain.
This is the bagging unit of one of the biggest soybean processing companies in the country. Vesta Oil Mills. Today on Food Chain, we'll be speaking to the owner and CEO of Vesta Oil Mills to understand how the soybean industry operates, how this factory functions, and to understand the challenges they are facing and how those challenges can be addressed. My name is Prince Apia. Join me today on Food Chain as we learn more about the soybean industry and enjoy this conversation. Tell us about how things are done here in your factory.
Vesta's Oil Mills processes solely soybean oil. We receive soybean oil from the 5 northern regions of Ghana, and we process it into soy meal and soy oil. We have a 100-ton capacity, but we can process 100 tons of soybeans a day, and the refinery can do 20 tons a day. So we process 100 tons, and then we refine the 100 tons, and we refine 20 tons of oil a day if we have the raw material. Since we started, for lack of raw material, the highest we've been able to do is 70 tons a day. It's not that the efficiency is not good or the capacity we cannot meet, but just that we don't have enough raw material. So as you can see now, we may shut down next week because we don't have enough raw material.
How did it start for you? How has the business been for you so far?
The company actually started way back, and we've been doing it, managed to upgrade to this level where we can do 100 tons a day here and do 40 tons at our old site at the Putuja. So it means we're growing. We've been adopted as one district, one factory, and we are being supported or being supported by Exim Bank Ghana. So things have been good, except that raw material has been a constraint. And as any business in Ghana, cost of capital is always expensive.
We know that Ghana relies on imports for between 40 and 50% of its domestic needs. How does that affect the business you do here?
Large. I mean, the exports affects us greatly because, for example, the soya meal that we produce, large tons of it are imported into the country. Coupled with the fact that even the beans that we use are being exported also. So sometimes we are out of raw material, and we compete with foreign imports which come in cheaper, considering the cost of capital and electricity and other things that we pay in Ghana, which are much higher than our competitors. It makes our operation a bit difficult sometimes.
And so how would you describe the soybean industry with this challenge staring in the face of the business you do?
Actually, the soybean industry, if managed well, could have been a better, business to help the poultry sector. Very unfortunately, our market has been open to foreigners to do anything that they want. They go to the farm gates to buy directly from the farmers. So we are actually short of supply to even run the operations. The industry, the season begins in October, and we are in March, and there's no soybean in the system. So October again, so you can imagine how the situation is affecting us. We've been trying to fight it. We've gotten some good news. I would say good news, but not really good for us from the ministry that they are trying to regulate the export of soybeans from the system. But I think this year has been too late. We hope maybe next year they could do something about it, but this year it's too late. The export of soybeans from Ghana has been a perennial thing. We've been talking about it. It's been on, off, like up and down. But this year has been phenomenal. The rate at which they are buying in drones and exporting this year, I don't know what is happening. We know largely people buy volumes from the US, Brazil, Argentina, where they produce most. But we don't know why the Indians, the Turkish, the Chinese are flooding our market, and the Chinese are flooding our market this year and buying everything out of the country. We don't know. year in, year out, we speak to the Ministry of Agri and Trade to work on it. And this year is not an exception. We've been fighting seriously to make sure something could be done. But the thing, I mean, the much we could do is to tell them how it's affecting our businesses, and the rest is left for the ministry to work on it. We don't know what we could do again.
To what extent would you say this phenomenon is affecting your business? Because from what you are saying, it seems it is not well regulated. The industry itself is not well regulated. As a result, anybody at all can come in and export.
The exportation of soya bean from the country is greatly affecting our business. Some of our colleagues have shut down already. And looking at the situation, I may shut down next week. We don't have anything to work with. And we want the industry to be regulated. Sometimes when you talk, you say, find money to buy. The money to buy for 1 month of my operations, I need about 5 million Ghana cedis. So you're talking about, if I want to even stock for 3 months, I need about 15 to 16 million Ghana cedis to stock for 3 months. And after 3 months, then what? There will be no soya bean in the system. So it's a very dicey situation, coupled with the fact that there's nowhere people could go and then go into the Ghanaian can't go into India and go to the farms and start buying.
Yeah.
You have to deal with the institutions. Ghana, we have commodity exchange. Why are they not buying from the commodity exchange, like regulated market, or maybe buy from the aggregators in the market? But they go to the farm gate directly to buy from the farms. And if you go to the market today and the price is 100 Ghana cedis, you offer 100 Ghana cedis. The next day you go, these guys are giving them 120. So they keep pushing the price up. And it's not very good for the industry. Today the farmers may be enjoying, good. Tomorrow if these people are not there and my business has collapsed, then what are the farmers going to do? So something must be done about it. And the earlier they do it, the better. I have 120 workers that I work with. And if I shut down, I'm going to lay them off.
Yeah.
I'm going to lay them off. So something must be done about the export of the beans. President is talking about processing our raw materials to add value to it. This is one of the raw materials. They should allow us to process, sell locally, because my soya bean meal is cheaper than the imported soya bean meal. And it's not that it's not quality, it's good quality. And if you ask anywhere, Greater Accra or anywhere, they will tell you Vesta soya meal is quality. So it's not that we are producing inferior quality. Our quality is standard and it's cheaper than the imported. So they should support the industry and let us support the poultry sector. Ghana has the capacity to produce soya for the local industry. Currently we have the capacity. I must congratulate the 1D1F project. This year, of all years, we had a huge supply of soya in the system. Unfortunately, this year has also been the year that we've had a lot of these people coming into the market to buy and export. I don't know whether it's coincidence, but this year is the year that we faced a lot of people buying and exporting. You see, the challenge is, if I want to import soya beans, one, it's very expensive out there. Two, I'll pay duties and taxes at the port, which makes it even more expensive. Why can't we reserve the ones that we have here for us to process? And the funny aspect is, if I import, or if somebody imports the soya meal, which is our product, it's tax-free. There's tax exemption on that. But there's no tax exemption on the beans, which is more raw material than the meal. Yeah. So we have tried, we've started, we've initiated a process to make sure the beans could also be made a raw material so we can bring some in anytime we have shortage. But as it stands now, if I'm bringing soya bean in, I'm going to pay duties and taxes at the port. But if I decide to bring soya meal, there will be no duty, no taxes. And I could decide to use my money to bring in soya meal, by which case I will lay my workers off. Yeah. Which one do we prefer? Letting the 120 people go and stay at home, and then bringing in material to pay them, for them to work, for me to pay them. Which one is better for the country? So the government should look at all these scenarios and make sure that at least we stay in business and get the people paid.
So who are those specifically in charge of deciding whether this is made a raw material or that is made a raw material. And so what has it been so far?
I think from my experience and the knowledge that I've gotten and the information that I've gotten, it is something that a legislative instrument should be passed on. So we've been asked to sponsor an LI because it must go to Parliament for approval. We've initiated it, and we're hoping that it will go to Parliament for approval. Once Parliament approves of it, then the soya bean could be a raw material, not attracting duty and taxes at the port. But at the moment, as it stands, you have to apply directly for exemption. And if you are granted, maybe per quantity that you want to bring, if you are granted exemption, you can bring that quantity in. The next time you want to bring some in again, you have to go again for another approval. That's how it is now. If we are allowed to import with tax exemptions, yes, it might reduce the pressure and the tension in the system, but it's not a good sign. I don't think if you are a minister and you are trying to push planting for food and job, for example, and people are importing raw material into the country, then what is the benefit of the planting for food and jobs? So it's not a good sign. But as it stands now, because of the shortage, there should be some window for us to bring some material in, at least to cushion the shortage. But going forward, I think the minister will have to look at people exporting our raw material and we going back to bring some in. It doesn't make business sense.
So I know that when we talk about soya bean, two things that come to mind, poultry and aquaculture. Has that in any way affected investment in the sector? Because not a lot of human beings, I should say, are interested in the soya.
The poultry and the aquaculture, together with some livestock, are even more than humans that you're talking about. Even maize in the country, I could tell you that the poultry sector consumes more maize than the humans. So the investment into the sector is even coming more. Apart from the poultry and aquaculture, there are some people also who use the soya for soy milk, and there's some people process some in Ghana also. So there's some human aspect in it, but the poultry sector and the fish sector alone needs more than even we can produce.
So it hasn't affected it?
Not at all. I mean, the fact that human beings don't consume directly hasn't affected investment into the sector one bit. There's still more investment coming into the sector. And even now that people are buying and exporting, which is supposed to be a good sign, except that it's affecting the local industries directly, it's going to even get people more to go into the sector and invest, because it means when you produce, people will buy. There's ready market for it. So people are going to go into it big time this time to produce more.
I know you work with farmers.
Yes.
And you sell and you buy from them. Are there any support schemes for these farmers you work with?
Vesta do some support schemes for some farmers. If I say some farmers, we have some farmer groups that we deal with. Not every farmer, but we deal with some farmer groups. Mostly we provide tractor services, improve seeds for them to plant, and sometimes during harvest, we finance some of the harvesting and the threshing of the beans. And then we get our payback in kind. The only difficulty we have faced, and we still face, is size selling. Some farmers are sometimes not honest. They take your money. When they harvest, they size sell the beans and they give you stories. And sometimes you have to be going around chasing for your money. So it makes it a bit disincentive. But there's no option. So time to time we have to go in and support so that we can get more produce and get some to run our business.
Finally, apart from this particular challenge, are there other challenges that you face as a processor and a producer in the soybean industry?
The major challenges in the industry, one is the raw material supply, two, cost of capital, and three, unfair competition. unfair competition in the sense that if somebody brings in your product into the country tax-free, it's difficult to compete with the person.
Yeah.
Coupled with the fact that Ghanaian, as we are, we prefer foreign products. So once the thing has come from maybe Argentina or Brazil, no matter how it is, people feel once it has come from outside is better than the local produce. And the fact that they are not paying no duties and taxes on it and they could sell makes it even more difficult for a local producer to compete. So that's another area where I think the government should look at. We are not saying they should go and charge duties, but there should be some fair play in the market. Because if I'm going to bring raw material to process, I'm going to pay duties and taxes. And my product, somebody is bringing the product and not paying duty and taxes on it. It doesn't make the playing field fair. So government should look at it and make sure at least there's some fair competition in the industry.
Thank you very much for speaking to us on Food Chain. We've been speaking to Mr. Kwesi Nyameche, who is the owner of Vesta Oil Companies and Processing. And we've been speaking about the challenges of the industry, understanding what kind of work he does here, how his equipment work and the machines work, and how competition is affecting their production and the industry at large. It has been very interesting here, somewhere in the outskirts of the Ashanti region, speaking to Mr. Nyameche about the industry. My name is Prince Apia.